Good morning, beautiful souls. Happy Saturday. And obviously, this is the Saturday Ascension update. Tim in the woods. I would have done it yesterday, but I had family commitments yesterday. And I do apologise for the lack of Monday meditation this week. I've actually found myself committed to so many different things that I didn't allocate myself the space or the energy to record and upload. But here we are. And on the other side of one of my favourite periods of the year, the Imbolc, the Celtic Spring. And a lot of people argue, oh, it's definitely not the spring, it's very much the winter. But I can hear the birds, the snowdrops are out. The mornings are getting longer. The mornings are getting brighter. The evenings are getting longer. We've gained time and light, and it's just a beautiful period. It's a beautiful period of the year. I want to look at a subject that's very kind of prevalent for all of us at the moment. I spoke about it the last time, the influx of kind of very negative information that we're kind of receiving or being bombarded with, the kind of the patterns of behaviour that we're witnessing in the world outside and around us, and what is supporting these and what isn't supporting them. So we've all agreed to the light path, haven't we? We've agreed to step up through the ascension process, and in the process of doing so, let go of all of the strings, the cords, the ropes, the attachments. One of the most interesting little bits and pieces that I've seen that is going on for not just for me, but for every single one of us, is that we are gathering all of the old bits and pieces of ourselves that we've perhaps left in previous timelines, in times and spaces. Now, on many occasions, when we go through a lesson, when we experience something, usually when we've been occupying a third dimensional role, a third dimensional body, we will have an experience where we hand our power over. We've learned a lot of lessons about this in this particular lifetime. You know, what happens when you hand the steering wheel, the reins, to a group or souls or a collective organisation who are saying that they have your best interests at heart but don't. Inward, in the inside of you, your inner consciousness, your heart, your higher mind, all of those aspects know that what you're agreeing to is out of alignment for you, but also via the rules and laws of free will are prevented from interceding, so that you learn your lesson. And we've done that time and time again. In fact, that's been the primary role of the third dimension, is to teach us the do's and the don'ts of having free will. And what a splendid learning platform to be involved with. All of the things that we've learned about having the freedom of choice, being able to make a decision of what path that we take. There's not many spaces in the learning universe where that is still an option, and I don't mean because that is rudely taken away from us, that free will is removed from us. Just when we are functioning from a higher frequency, when we're functioning from the heart, the same choices that we'd make on a lower level, at a lower state of consciousness, don't even occur to us. So when we've stepped into that heart-centered frequency and that vibration, we simply don't think like we do when we're in the third dimension. And a lot of you will be noticing that that is occurring, or has been occurring with you for some time now. Have you stopped and maybe taken stock occasionally, like whenever it has occurred? Have you stopped and taken stock of how differently you think now, how differently you perceive? And I don't mean with the things that you can see, because yeah, we've all had a huge amount of hidden stuff revealed to us, particularly in the last 4 years. That's been momentous. But just noticed that you are thinking differently, that you are making different choices. Your interactions have altered. You are maybe no longer saying yes to things that you know that you shouldn't do, making power agreements that are not in your benefit. So having, like gone off track a little bit, the moral to this particular story is that when we've made these decisions from free will, and they're the incorrect decision for us on a higher level, we have left an aspect of ourselves behind, or we've handed a piece of ourselves over. It's almost like you take a little piece of your soul energy, and it then becomes the property of the person who's won the power agreement or the struggle or whatever it is that we've actually agreed to. What's been really interesting to note as this year has kind of taken off quite explosively, 2024, is that we are now drawing all of those given away parts of ourselves back to us. It's a natural occurrence. It's almost as if we have gone and stated to our Akashic records, to our previous timeline, that we are reclaiming ourselves so that we can be whole. Okay, we can't be whole and walk through the Ascension gateway if there's fragments of us, soul particles, old agreements and contracts and power, like power handovers, if they're scattered all around the various learning planes that we have been engaged in. So you might see and notice that all of these are coming back to you now. It's really empowering, but it also can be a little bit tricky on some aspects in some ways, because quite often when those soul particles, those fragments reconnect with us, they can bring with them the memory that came with their parting when you handed that over. And that is in many cases a necessity to show you where and when that occurred. You might already know. You might have deliberately visited that particular space. But for the actual overall picture of what we are experiencing, it's incredibly telling of how fast and how far and how forward moving our process has become. So as you know, we're already well and truly into this energy, this 2024 energy. We've got so much going on in what we call the 3D matrix out there. Literally every talking head that can be shouting is shouting. There is always something going on. If there can be a drama made out of a scenario, that scenario is literally reaching its kind of like its peak performance. It's revving as high as it can. It's redlining. So you've got all of the conflict, you've got all of the, and I've mentioned this before, the border struggles, the politics, the talk of finances, all of these things, everything, literally absolutely everything simultaneously that isn't in alignment with the fifth dimension is being really highlighted. We can see it all now. But depending on how you perceive it, it can either feel overwhelming, like you are being attacked from all sides. So, you know, where do we find our peace? Where do we find our space? Where do we switch off and go to when all of this becomes too overwhelming? Because on a spiritual level, it's our instinct to wish to fix this. You know, we can see the conflict, let's fix it. We can see the group of very upset, you know, like angry souls, let's try and fix it. We can see all these interpersonal situations occurring, you know, within 3D and 5D. Let's try and fix it. We want everything to be in alignment. We want peace. We want love. We want unity. And in many cases, we are just having to step back and let all of this do its thing. The most effective way that I can see, and the way that I've always been guided to deal with these energies, to resolve these dramas, these conflicts, these scenarios that are inevitably, you know, they're here, is to first resolve our own frequency and our own vibration. So as within, so without. What we can ultimately break it down to is that the world around us is a reflection of the internal mechanisms of the collective. So does this indicate then that the collective is moving through incredible shifts and changes themselves? Have they begun to see what we're seeing? Have they begun to see with the clarity of the third eye? And I think that the answer is yes. I think they have. I think when we get to the point where everything, all of the fireworks, all of the boxes of fireworks have been lit simultaneously, we can safely say that, first of all, that the keepers of the 3D matrix have truly bolted the gate. Basically, that all of the stables are open, all of the horses are galloping, the riders are in a panic. That's all going off. So although on a surface level it might look like they are planned in advance, that they are efficient, that they're in control, that they have all of the money in the world to do whatever they want and all of the puppeteering, the actual, if you look and read the energy behind it, it's very different. It's panicked, it's last resorts, it's what are we going to do now? Let's, you know, like nothing else has worked, let's try this. So everything is happening at once. And the result, that the end result of this is that everybody who previously was not seeing or perceiving correctly with their third eye is now beginning to. So naturally, as a result of that, the levels of inner turmoil within these people begins to rise. Just cast again your minds back maybe a little bit down the timeline as to how you felt when you saw for the first time, when you woke up. Some of us had a blissful, peaceful awakening where we were awakened to the world of spirit in our own time, you know, not under duress, just because that's the way that our life flow was going. That was our soul agreement to do so. Many of us were way showers. We woke up before the cosmic moment. And then after the cosmic moment, when things started to get intense, other souls began to rise up, began to awaken. The divine balance between divine feminine, divine masculine is also, the scales are beginning to settle now. And I'm always very happy to note and to acknowledge the amount of divine masculine souls that are now beginning to step up and fill those spaces, the spaces that we all noticed were missing previously. I can't count on my fingers and my toes the amount of times that I've had the question in workshops or or online, you know, like where are the men? When are the men going to step up? And I always tip my hat to the lads that come along to the live events, because usually we're always outnumbered. It's always the women who've acknowledged and embraced the spiritual pathway. But I do think it's interesting to note that the divine masculine, the warrior souls, are simply stepping into positions of power and sovereignty and heart-centered authority around the world. They might not necessarily be attending a unicorn workshop or a crystal event with you and I. This balance is happening at the moment. The situations that are occurring around the world are creating a rise in this divine masculine warrior energy, the urge to protect our earth, to love and protect the people who are incapable of defending themselves around us, to stand up for truth, to stand up for what is right, to reveal dark energy or corruption or untruths where they exist and they need holding into the light so everybody can see them. And once they've been acknowledged, they alchemize and they turn into the frequency that is compatible with where we are going and with what we are doing. So with all of this incredible fervor, this kind of craziness that we see out in the kind of the carnival of the 3D matrix, there's a huge balancing act occurring. We're balancing, you're balancing, I am balancing. We're finding the level ground, and most importantly, we are recalling all the aspects of ourselves that we've handed over and that we've left behind. I mean, just for the sake of this lifetime alone, we've made multiple power agreements with other beings where we've handed our energy over. It's one of the primary lessons of the spiritual pathway, how to say no lovingly, to establish boundaries. But before we were awake and while we were still kind of immersed in our previous world, in our previous reality, we would have done it multiple times. We'd have handed our power over. We'd have literally given a fragment of our soul energy to another being in an exchange which did not benefit us. So imagine how many times you've done that in previous incarnations, all the way throughout the 10,000 years since the fall of Atlantis. So just for a second, visualize how much of you is coming back to the whole, to the unity, the unified. It's a lot. So this is a practice that you can do yourself. You can sit there and you can actively call these aspects back to you, because it's a project that is going on at the moment. The recollection of all of our energies in order to make us whole, so that we can step through the Ascension gateway having acknowledged all of these aspects of ourselves that have, for want of a better words, have been left behind. So we might not get absolutely everything all in one go. It might just come back bits and pieces when we need it. But a whole anchored being, a sovereign master, a walking master, a very, very powerful and unified being of the light is anchored also, you know, like, not to mention anchored in the mighty I am presence, is an unstoppable force of love. I mean, those words even might sound a little bit contradictory, but when we talk about the movements of energies and how energy flows, so it appears to me to be something so powerful that it's untouchable by the lower forces of 3D and all of the other systems that would seek to lower our frequency and lower our vibrations. So these are exciting times, and I believe that we've got a very exciting, forward moving fireworky month ahead of us at the moment. February is going to be, wherever you are in the world, whether you're in the northern hemisphere and you're watching the early signs of spring, or whether you're in the southern hemisphere and the weather and the energies and everything else is starting to do the opposite. So focus on bringing yourself back to wholeness, to oneness, to unity, and actively call in the parts of yourself that you have left behind. And as you do so, you may well be shown or even recreate the lesson again that occurred as you parted company with that aspect. It's ongoing, it's very powerful, and the more aspects of us that we have, that we've reconnected with, that we've gathered back, the more incredible and vibrant our light becomes. So watch this space. Anyway, my lovelies, that's my Saturday Ascension update. That's what I can see and feel and hear is going on at the moment. And I will be back on Monday morning with a Meditation Monday. There will be information about upcoming events that I've got going on underneath this video, and I look forward to seeing you soon. Sending you all so much love. Bye for now.